Supporting the EFF in keeping jailbreaking legal. A lot of you might be surprised to learn that I'm actually in favor of keeping jailbreaking legal. This is because I do mod a lot of my hardware to do other things. My Android device is unlocked, rooted, whatever word you'd like to say, which is basically all jailbreaking is rooting your iPhone. I think that if I own a piece of hardware, I ought to be able to run whatever I want on it. And that as long as it has that capability and I'm not violating anybody's copyright laws or patent laws, that I should be allowed to do so. So when you root your phone, doing so to be able to enable Wi-Fi sharing, or doing so in order to run custom software that I wrote myself, is something that I feel I ought to be able to do. That isn't to say that I should be able to root my phone and pirate every game for free onto my phone. That would be illegal and something that shouldn't happen. But if I want to modify my phone so that it works with Boost mobile, I ought to be able to do that. And if I can do it with software, that should be legal. If I want to use my Red Ring of Death Xbox as a toaster, I should be able to do that. And in order to do that, I need to change the boot so that it doesn't stop spinning the CPU when it red rings. I ought to be able to do that. Why I would want to do that? That's none of your business. As long as I haven't violated the copyrights or the patent laws, I should be able to do those things. And when you're just modding the software and you aren't decrypting the software, you aren't doing any of those kinds of things, I don't see the problem with it. I definitely think that you ought to be able to mod games. Now, if you mod those games, should you not be able to compete in the community? Yeah, you shouldn't be able to compete if you modded the games. But if you want to make an alternate texture pack for a game, that should be legal, as long as you didn't have to violate anybody's copyright or intellectual property in doing so. And that's really what the argument comes down to, is that Apple and others think that by giving you root access, that the only thing you can do is piracy. When in fact, just as an independent developer, lots of times it's easier to write code on a rooted device because you don't have to worry about those security issues when you are doing the work. And if you want to learn how to do development or make textures, you need to be able to mod games. And if you want to be able to do make a toaster out of your Xbox, you need to be able to put your own boot software on it. If I bought the PlayStation 3 to be a computational device running Linux, that should be my right. As long as somebody can produce the software that works, that should be legal. It's just hardware. Now, if Sony wanted to make some rule that said that I had to buy 6 games because the hardware was subsidized, maybe that should be a requirement. But as far as I see it, hardware is hardware, and it is a tangible item. I ought to be able to resell it, take parts out, do whatever I want, as long as I'm not reverse engineering it, or breaking it, or violating the intellectual property. So, go out to the EFF forum. The link is in the description to this video. Show your support for jailbreaking, even if you aren't running an iOS device. If you're running Android, this applies to you. If you're playing Xbox or PlayStation, this applies to you. If you're running the same Canon T2i that I am, and you decided to put the Magic Lantern firmware on it, this applies to you. I jailbroke the camera I'm shooting this video on. And if this particular bill passes or gets reinstated, I could lose the ability to hack my camera to record for 24 minutes at a time instead of 12, to have the zebras, to have, an audio input that is balanced as opposed to unbalanced audio. Lots of little things that I do depend on the ability to say, this is a great piece of hardware. Boy, it could do amazing more things. And we lose that if we lose the ability to jailbreak. So, this isn't me being a Mac fanboy. It has nothing to do with Apple, because I don't have any of the Apple devices that I would jailbreak. But I see the value in enabling people to develop software for hardware, regardless of whether or not the device was originally intended to do that particular function.